It's coffee time, it's coffee time, it's the One Pot Chef drinking coffee and time. What do you think of it so far? Rubbish. Welcome to Coffee Time, the chat show here on the One Pot Chef blog where I answer questions sent in by you. And if you've got a question for the next edition of Coffee Time, all you need to do is leave it in the comments section underneath this video on YouTube. Well, here we go. We've got a whole bunch of new questions, so let's get into it. First question comes from Licho3440, who asks, what would you do if you won $50 million? Apart from die screaming with joy, I would probably buy a bigger house because our house is quite small and it's very cramped and we don't have a lot of space, so that would probably be the first thing. Probably do a bit of travelling, go around the world maybe, do a sort of bit of that, but yeah, but probably just stick the rest in like an investment or in the bank or something, because I'm terrible with buying things, because like, if I ever have a bit of money and go like, oh, you've got so much money, let's go on a spending spree, and I'll go to shop after shop and I go, yeah, I don't really want that, I don't really need that, and so I'm terrible with that kind of shopping. I'm not good at buying things for myself unless it's something I physically need. I'm not sort of one of those ones who sort of goes, oh, pretty, must have that. Yeah, so I think the majority of it would probably sit in a bank account, so that's about it. But yeah, I'd definitely buy a bigger house. That would certainly be something that I would be interested in doing, because it's something that I definitely need. Robert Matthew asks, one question, just want to know, did you move houses because the view looks different? No, we've been doing some renovations at the house, and so we've had to move things around and do things, and since we were doing that, I decided to shift the stuff around in this room. So actually everything is opposite now. So the door that's usually in the background of these videos is actually to my left here, and that wall behind us, which now has the picture of New York thing on the background, that is actually where the computer used to be. So everything's just swapped around a bit, really. So I've actually got that One Pot Chef board on the wall, the whiteboard, that's actually directly in front of me right now, right behind the computer. But yeah, it's not a different place, it's just, yeah, we've moved things around. We've been having a lot of things done around the house recently, and we've had to move some things, and this just happens to be one of them, and I rather like it now, actually. It's quite good. Next question comes from Anna Harris. Let's see. Love your videos, recipes, and of course you. I made your mum's lemon cheesecake for my family. It was very well received. I've made it and taken it to work and a few dinner parties, and everyone raves about it. I've given your website to many so they can enjoy as much as I do. Any thoughts on doing an outside grilling video? Maybe doing some beer can chicken. Much love from Maine. I'm not really into outside grilling and barbecuing. One of the main reasons I haven't done it for a very long time is because we haven't had a barbecue. The house that we're living in, we moved here about 4 or 5 years ago, and because of various problems with the land, we haven't actually been able to fence off the backyard, so it's basically open to anyone who can just wander in. And so we haven't really made much use of the backyard, so we haven't had a barbecue or anything outside really, except for the washing line. That's about it. So really, we've only, with the renovations recently, we've just finally got this backyard fenced off so it's private. People can't just come wandering in any time they want. So the next thing we're looking to do is we're going to put a gazebo in the backyard, somewhere where we can put a covered place where we can have tables and chairs and maybe a barbecue or grill type thing, and see where we go from there. But personally, I've never got the outside grilling thing. That's my partner's thing. He loves doing barbecues and stuff like that. I personally, I don't see the point. I'd rather just do it in my kitchen. But I think it's one of those things you just have to sort of be into, and it's just not my thing. Like Lunch Boy says, thank you, I totally agree with what you said about Eurovision. What did I say about Eurovision? Oh yes, of course, last video. Really good to hear from someone else too. My question for this time, apples or oranges? For eating just as a piece of fruit, I would probably say apples, mainly because I've got a strange allergy, which I can drink orange juice, I can have oranges in things, no problem whatsoever, but if I try to eat an orange just like an orange, I end up getting this terrible contact dermatitis around my mouth, which happens at no other time. I could bathe in a bath full of orange juice and it wouldn't have an effect, but for some reason there's something in the pith, the white part on the inside of the rind, that does something to my face and it just gone. I don't know what the go is with that, but yeah, but I love oranges. I have them in all sorts of things, but I would, if I was having just a piece of fruit, apples. What an odd question. Next question comes from Rachel's Life. What do you think about the USA legalising same-sex marriage? If Australia legalised it, would you and your partner get married? I think it's great that the US have finally legalised same-sex marriage throughout the Union. I think that's a brilliant thing. I don't see Australia legalising it anytime soon because we've got an ultra-conservative right-wing government that has made it very clear that they're not interested in doing that. And it will take a fairly landslide victory from the other side of politics before it actually comes close to coming through Parliament and through the Senate. But that being said, if it were legalised tomorrow, I'm not sure that that Brian and I probably would get married. I don't think it would be something that we would immediately jump at. We've been together for quite some time, and it's something that we discussed many years ago, and it wasn't something that either one of us were really terribly invested in exploring. We've got all the legal protections that we need. We went to a lawyer and got our wills sorted out together and all that sort of stuff. So we're pretty much covered when it comes to the legal side of things, and really getting married would just be another extra piece of paper and maybe a bit of a party. But to be honest, I don't think either one of us are terribly fussed on it. But it would be nice if it was actually available, because there are obviously a lot of people in this country who would like to get married and have a very, very personal connection to that institution and would like to be able to do that as well. So hopefully it will happen someday. I just don't think it's going to be happening anytime soon. Next question comes from KE, who asks, what do you think about Kazakhstan? I know virtually nothing about Kazakhstan, to be honest. I'll play ignorance here because, yeah, apart from a couple of years ago, somebody sent me some stuff from Kazakhstan for a taste test video, which I did on this channel. And they sent me some little Kazakhstan candies and chocolates and things like that. But beyond that, I have absolutely no knowledge of Kazakhstan. And if you showed me a map, I don't even think I could point it out on a map. So unfortunately, I'm pleading ignorance on that one, but I'm sure it's a lovely country. I think Borat's probably done you a massive disservice over the years, though. Next question comes from William Mitchell. I've come to the realisation that I will never have time to watch all of the coffee time videos. That's not surprising. I've done a few of them. So if you've answered these before, I apologise. If any questions are too personal, you don't have to answer them. Okay, just a side note, William has posted quite a few questions here, so I'm just going to answer these questions quickly in turn, because there are a couple that I've answered before, so I'm not going to get too in-depth. Who is your favourite Doctor Who? I would say Tom Baker. Would you ever move out of Australia? Possibly, but it depends on the circumstances. I think there would have to be certain things in place. I'm not really sure. Maybe. What are there any states in the US that you would like to visit and or live in? I'm not sure about live in, because I've only got a little experience with being in the US. I went to Los Angeles a couple of years ago, and I'm not sure that's representative of the entire country, but Connecticut looks like a Christmas card all year round. I think that would be lovely to live in, but I'm sure it has its downsides, so there we go. Favourite genre of movie, and do you have a favourite movie? I like all sorts of different movies. I like comedies, I like musicals, I like dramas, I like horror movies. Favourite movie, I'm not really sure. I like so many of them, but probably one that I could watch over and over again would be Kill Bill Part 1. I definitely love that film. I love the action. I love the comedy of it. It's a great story. It's just a bit of fun. It's very violent, but it's kind of so over the top, the violence. It's quite entertaining. So I would say I like that. Top 5 musicians. Oh God, there's too many to name. I like a lot of 70s and 80s, particularly disco music. Modern music, oh, I'm not really fussed on today's music. I'm kind of a bit retro, so I found myself re-listening to Alanis Morissette recently and a little bit of Tori Amos. What else? I like some of the 60s girl groups from Motown. I don't know, there's too many to name. Have you ever been to the Australia Zoo, and do you have any desire to go there if you haven't been? I haven't been there. It's not near me. It's up in Queensland, and that's the one run by was run by Steve Irwin. It's now run by Steve Irwin's family. I have no specific desire to go to it. I don't even go to the local zoo. It's not something I'm terribly fussed on. Are there any famous chefs that that are known worldwide that you admire and would like to work with? I'd love to do a video with Nigella Lawson, only because I so love her passion. She really, really has a love of cooking and food, and I think that would be something that would be fabulous to do in a video with her. What age did you come out? I had a sort of a staggered coming out experience. I came out to my friends in high school when I was about 15. I told my mum when I was 17, and I told my father when I was about 18, 19 roughly. I'm not exactly sure. I generally had the opinion of I only really felt the need to tell people if it was necessary, and I only told people if I felt they were going to be accepting of it. So that was why it was sort of staggered. I wasn't exactly sure where my parents stood on the whole thing, so I did sort of take my time on that one. How long have you and Brian been together? A couple of weeks ago we celebrated our 13th anniversary together, so just this side of forever. Any Aussie celebrities that you fancy? Oh God, thank God Brian doesn't watch these videos. He won't get jealous. Mark Fennell from SBS. Oh my God, he's gorgeous. And oh, Miguel from The Living Room. Oh, he's a chef and he has the most gorgeous smile. I can't understand a word he's saying half the time, but my God, he's pretty. Do you prefer to cook or bake? It depends on my mood. It's kind of the reason why I'm a bit sort of funny with how I do my videos. Is that, like, I almost always choose my recipes for my videos based on what I'm in the mood for that time. So sometimes I feel like doing a bit of baking, sometimes I like doing cooking. So it just sort of depends. I'm a bit of a sort of a shifting mood type person. If you weren't a YouTuber, what else would you be doing? Starving on the street, begging? I'm qualified for nothing. Yeah, well, in all honesty, the reason I do YouTube now is because I wasn't able to do what I was doing before because of my spinal injury. So I'm qualified for nothing. If YouTube disappears tomorrow, I could be in trouble. So I don't know. Apple or Android or something else? Definitely Apple over Android. I had an Android phone for a sum total of 45 minutes and returned it because it was worthless. Hated it, couldn't get the damn thing to work, so yeah, I've been with Apple ever since. Have you ever encountered any dangerous animals that are native to Australia? Quite a few actually. We've got a few redback spiders in the backyard, and we have a colony of funnel webs living in my driveway. So when I go to get into my car in the morning, I have to be careful I'm not sort of standing on any of their traps. But in all honesty, I think it's mostly comes down to being sensible. If you see things that are dangerous, just don't go around poking them with a stick. If you leave them alone, they will generally leave you alone. And that's basically how it is. It's like in America, if you see a snake in your backyard, you're not going to go poking it with a stick or anything. You'd leave it alone and let it sort of sort itself out, or get someone to come and collect it and take it away. But yeah, so if you tend to sort of interfere with the animal, that's usually what causes problems and getting hurt. Favourite fruit flavour in baked goods? It's oddly specific. I like bananas in banana bread. I like peach cobbler. Probably apples were very good in things like muffins, because apple and cinnamon, like spice muffins, are really nice. Favourite kind of alcohol? I'm not much of a drinker these days, actually. I don't drink alcohol much. I have the occasional glass of white wine now and again. But back in my drinking days, I definitely liked my vodka and bourbon, particularly Wild Turkey, but I don't really do much drinking these days. And can you play the didgeridoo? Probably as well as you can. No. Yeah, blowing in things where you've got to breathe through your nose and blow out your mouth at the same time, that cyclic breathing thing, I can't do it. All right, well, thank you, William, for that large chunk of questions. I hope that's filled you in. Next question comes from Chuzzle. Have you ever, or would you ever, eat some of the foods from China and Japan, like raw or cooked fish, squid, and bugs? I'm not much of a seafood person at the best of times, but I'm definitely not keen on the idea of eating raw fish. I don't mind squid as long as it's been cooked, although I saw a documentary about Korean cuisine, and one of the things was that they were chopping the tentacles off, I think it was an octopus, while it was still alive, and you actually eat the raw cut off tentacles while they're still squirming around the plate. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And apparently there's some kind of technique where you wrap the tentacle around the chopstick and you've got to swallow it in a certain way, because if you don't swallow it the right way, it actually sticks to the inside of your throat and can choke you from the inside. And I was like, or I could not eat that. Gross. As for bugs and insects, I recognise that they're very high in protein and very nutritious. I just don't think I can get past the ick factor. No. Not for me. I like to think that I'm progressive and willing to try anything once, but there are certain limits, and I think sort of sitting down to a bowl of crickets is definitely one of those limits. So yeah, I can't say I'm terribly keen. Shane Peel asks, for the next edition of Coffee Time, what is the worst food you have ever tasted and you can't say the canned chicken? The canned chicken was awful. Oh God. I think it's going to be a toss-up between two of them. One of them was these, I can't remember if they were from Norway or Sweden, but they were little lollies, like little boiled lollies that were made of aniseed, licorice and salt. And they were just so salty, it literally dried your tongue the second it touched, and it was the foulest thing I've ever tried. It was so gross. I'm not a big fan of licorice to begin with, but the hyper saltiness of this thing was just so yucky, I could not deal with it. The other one would probably be durian, which, for those of you not in the know, is a Southeast Asian fruit. It's a tropical fruit. It looks like a big watermelon which has got really spiky bumps all over it. And you've got to hack through the thick skin to get to the interior flesh, which is this sort of a yellowy, white, creamy flesh, which smells like rotten feet, but apparently has quite a sweet taste. I tried this once, and I could not get past the gag-making smell. It was so foul. I couldn't even taste whatever, that little tiny morsel of this stuff that I had, because the smell was just completely overwhelmed my palate. I'm told it's a delicacy you have to grow up with. It's something that's an acquired taste, and I definitely didn't acquire it. It was horrible. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that enjoy it, and they are more than welcome to have it, but I'm definitely not going through that one again. That was terrible. Courtney Kayla asks, if you could cook for anyone in the world, who would you want to delight with your culinary cuisine? I love your personality, it's so refreshing. Coffee times are one of my favourites. Love from the USA. Who would I want to delight with my culinary cuisine? Mark Fennell, come over and have some chocolate cake and I can make you fall in love with me. Oh God, if he ever saw this, I would be so embarrassed. unless he was flattered and felt like coming around for some chocolate cake. Oh, geez, these videos get more bizarre as they go along. MarinaFan19 asks, what was the first thing you remember cooking when you were little? Somebody asked me this in real life recently, and it actually triggered a memory. And I don't know how old I was. I must have been really young, like maybe 5 or 6. But I remember there was a recipe in a magazine or a newspaper or something like that. And the recipe was called Sweet Spuds. And what it was were these sort of handmade little candies that were made to look like potatoes. And so you mixed up various things to form the potato shape, and you dusted them with cocoa powder so they looked like little potatoes covered in dirt. And for the life of me, I can't remember what was in them, but all I remember was that they were very sweet, and the cocoa on the outside kind of was bitter, because obviously cocoa is bitter when it's not sweetened. So they were like sweet and bitter at the same time, and they weren't particularly nice, but I remember they looked exactly like potatoes, and although my father said they looked like turds, I remember that. But yeah, beyond that, that's the earliest thing I can remember of me actually cooking something. Gary, oh God, I hope I'm saying this correctly. Gary area, I hope I'm saying that right. Oh, Nikki. Your name is Nikki, okay. I have a few questions just to get to know you as a person, not a chef. Okay. What's your favourite holiday destination? The correct answer is Sweden. My favourite holiday destination is Sweden. Despite having never been to Sweden and most likely never getting to Sweden anytime soon, oddly enough, I would actually like to visit Sweden. There was a documentary recently, I watch a lot of documentaries, and it was showing off various Scandinavian countries. So you've got Sweden, Norway, Denmark, all of those sort of places, and it just looked absolutely beautiful. And there were so many different food things that they showed off in Sweden that looked really interesting that I wanted to check out. So if I could, I would definitely go and check that out. By the way, just a quick note, you may be hearing some noises in the background. We started doing renovations. Ours have just about finished, but the people behind us have started renovating as well, so now they're doing banging and crashing over there. So if you do hear something in the background, I promise it's not anything untoward, but shut up! What was the next question? What do you do if you're not filming a video? Quite a bit, actually, because yeah, the job doesn't finish when I turn the off button on the camera, because I do YouTube as a full-time business. So if I'm not filming, I'm editing or doing social media stuff, updating the website. I'm currently in the middle of writing a new cookbook. I'm also working on a couple of other little secret projects that I can't talk about at the moment, but I'm hoping will be very, very interesting and should have some more news for you about that in the coming time. I'm trying not to say anything. I'm really excited about it though, whatever it is, but I'm not telling you what it is. What was your biggest dream as a kid, and did you already do something with it, or will it always be just a dream? I don't recall having any dreams as a kid, to be honest. I don't know. I've done some amazing things in my life, so... But I don't know if I had any sort of like, oh, I wish I was a astronaut fireman or something and then became an astronaut fireman. I don't know. I don't think I ever had anything specific like that. I've always been a very sort of practical, specific person. Like, I just do things. I don't necessarily dream sort of like, oh, I wish I was a butterfly and became one. Like, what am I talking about? I wish I was a butterfly? My brain hurts. Is there something or someone that you're scared of, and why? I would probably say that after everything that's happened over the last 18 months or so, there's very little for me to be scared of now, because I think I've probably gone through the scariest thing that a human being can go through. So I would say, yeah, no, probably not much left to be scared of now. Again, it comes back to my practicality sort of side of my personality, and that is sort of, I don't really get terribly disturbed by anything these days. So yeah, and especially after everything from last year, I would probably say not. So Yeah, happy thoughts. Next question comes from Zuli R. My question is, what star sign are you? You come across as a Leo, Gemini or Aries. Your natural acting, lots of chatting and laughter seem to be part of your nature. I also see a lot of Cancer in you with all the home cooking, so pray do tell. Well, Leo, Gemini, Aries or Cancer, you've really spread your cards out on that one, and unfortunately you've come up with zilch, because I'm none of those. I'm actually an Aquarius. So I don't know if that means anything, because to be honest, I have absolutely no knowledge of star sign stuff at all. I don't even read the star signs really, because 9 times out of 10 it's always, oh, you have green scaly skin and a series of yellow underbellies running down your spinal cord. And although lizard-like in shape... I'm copying Monty Python. But it's always something way out, and yeah, I've never quite understood what the purpose of all that is, because it never seems to be even remotely accurate. I often see things posted on Facebook sort of how people with a certain star sign react to this, that and the other. It's always bizarre, so who knows? Yeah, so if Aquarius explains any of my personality quirks, my tongue is broken today, I can't talk. I'm not good with word speaking. Word speaking. So yeah, if being Aquarius explains the fact that I can't string a sentence together, then that pretty much covers it all. Vasquez Snoppen, I hope I've said that correctly. What is your view on the meaning of life, the universe and everything? Please don't say 42. What is with everyone telling me what I can and cannot say? I say 42. 42, 42, 42. I have no idea what the meaning of life is. If I did, I'd probably understand mine a hell of a lot more. Yeah, I'm not certain there is any specific meaning to life, to be honest, or the universe and everything, but if there is, I would like to think that it's just that everyone should be terribly nice to each other, and unfortunately a lot of people haven't worked that one out yet, so I hope eventually people will figure that out, and if that's not the meaning of life, it bloody well should be. Durian uploads, oh dear God, we were just talking about them. I don't really have a question this time, but I was wondering if I could get a shout out to a friend of mine who loves watching your videos. Her name is, oh sweet mother of God. Oh, you put a pronunciation, it's pronounced Sivney New Lawn. It's an Irish name. She'd be delighted if you said hi to her. Thanks so much to David from Adam in Dublin. Okay, so Sivney New Lawn. Hello, hi, and what is it with Irish people? You spell everything eckle-feckle and pronounce it kukubra. I'm confused. I have absolutely no idea how to pronounce that correctly, even with it spelt out. I hope I've got that right. If I haven't, please forgive my ignorance. I don't intend any kind of offence or racism, but yeah, Irish people, you people spell things weird. I'm not Irish, I'm not racist, but I'm just going to say everything you do is wrong. What am I doing? Hello to you, I hope you enjoy this, and thanks for watching my videos. Please don't sue me. Next question. Anastasia Beaverhausen, love the username, I love the reference. Is there any time when you've had to restrain yourself from screaming when people ask boneheaded questions like, what is cream? Can I use tuna instead of pasta? And why don't you do more insert low-carb, gluten-free or Atkins-style recipes? My God, I get them all the time. I don't necessarily have to restrain myself from screaming, but I recognise that there are obviously people in the world who won't necessarily know what cream is because it isn't commonly available to them. But there are certain times where people will ask me a question and I just think, why not just type that exact question into Google and it would give you an answer immediately? Why get me to answer it for you? So often, when I get questions like that, I will often actually type it into Google, get the Wikipedia link for whatever the answer to their question is, and post it to them as the reply so they can look it up, because I can't be bothered retyping it out. I get a lot of people asking, can I do this recipe as gluten-free, and how do I do that? And I always have to sort of say the same thing. I don't have a lot of knowledge of things like that, particularly when I get people asking me about diabetic recipes, because I have no experience with diabetic cooking, and when it comes to things like gluten-free and medical type things, particularly like diabetes and whatnot, I don't want to give people advice on something that I don't know about because it could make someone sick or even worse. So I generally tell people to just check out somebody else's channel who actually does specialise in those types of recipes, because there is quite a few things for like gluten-free and vegan and diabetic style stuff and all that sort of thing. So I have a list of people who do those things, and I tend to sort of send people on their way to check out those videos. But for the most part, yeah, it's just, I do a basic cooking channel. I do things from scratch, and I try not to be too specific. I do the occasional gluten-free thing because my sister is gluten-free and she often gets upset that she can't have more traditional desserts. So I try to occasionally find things, because I did some gluten-free brownies for her once ages ago and she absolutely loved that recipe. So, but yeah, generally speaking, I try not to accommodate anything too specific, because most of the time I just don't have enough knowledge about it to give a sensible answer. So yeah. Next question comes from Naruto, who asks, how do you feel about the Young Turks? I personally think they're idiots. I can't say I watch them on a regular basis. I did watch one of their videos several years ago and kind of came to the same conclusion that, yeah, they are kind of idiots, because it was basically just an example of people sitting around a table screaming at each other until they were told to stop screaming at each other. I can't say I was terribly fussed on it, so yeah, I'm not a fan. Chris Van Eed asks several questions. What is the funniest blooper you've ever made? Probably, oh goodness, probably when I did the shepherd's pie video years ago and I didn't realise I'd left the egg timer on, so when I was recording the intro, just at a specific point, it went off and went ding, and it just happened to fit in with what I was recording, and it was so bizarre, and I just burst out laughing. If you go to the shepherd's pie video on my channel, you'll actually see it in the intro. It's an absolute cracker because it was just so unexpected and bizarre. So that was probably the funniest one, but that's my opinion. What's your favourite part of the day? The bit where I get to have coffee. Oh my God, I live on coffee these days. I haven't got a coffee at the moment because it's actually quite a warm day, which is bizarre for winter at the moment. But yeah, it's just, yeah, it sort of, I need a coffee to get my heart started in the morning. I swear I'm wandering around like a, like this, until the coffee machine goes on and I'm awake! So, I don't know if that's normal. What time do you get up? It really depends. If I'm doing a filming day, I tend to get up fairly early because I've got to sort of get myself ready, do the prep work and whatnot, set up the kitchen with the camera and the lights and whatnot. So it tends to be like a 7 AM start, but most days I usually get up a little later than that, usually 8:30 or so, because I often have late nights, particularly with days where I'm not filming. I tend to be doing a lot of social media things. I'm doing writing for the book. I'm doing updates for the website. So I tend to sort of do that in the evenings while I'm sort of in the mood for it. And so I tend to like lose track of time and I go, oh, Jesus, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Better go to bed. What colour clothes do you wear most frequently? I don't have any specific favourite colours, but I tend not to go for anything too bright or flamboyant because I think a gentleman of my carriage can't really pull that off. So I tend to go for more subdued colours these days. So sort of dark and earth tones, like at the moment I'm wearing this sort of slightly greeny, light brown coloured shirt, and I've got dark trousers on, but yeah, I don't tend to sort of go for anything too over the top. What's your favourite day of the week? I don't really have a specific favourite day of the week because they all tend to flow together. It's one of the things about working from home, especially when you're working on your own and most of the time, is that they kind of flow together and it doesn't really necessarily affect you too much, because like if I was working a traditional job where I'm working Monday to Friday and certain things happen on certain days, that sort of helps to give you a bit of a regulation and give you sort of a schedule. But I don't really have that because I work from home and because I work to my own schedule. I don't necessarily really have an issue, although I must admit I do tend to sort of leave Sundays blank so I can have a bit of a sleep in and not necessarily have to do anything too complex. Although, oddly enough, I'm recording this video on a Sunday afternoon because I really didn't have anything else to do, and I thought, yeah, what the hell, I'll give it a go. What was the best advice someone gave to you? I don't know, I suppose... I don't know if I've ever been given any specific advice that I can remember. Just be yourself, basically. I think I've had a few people sort of say, sort of, don't worry about impressing other people, just worry about impressing yourself. So I'd say that was pretty good advice, and I can't sort of think of anything better than that. So, how do you handle stress? By dying early. I don't handle stress. I'm a mental case. Why do you think I drink so much coffee? Yeah, I don't handle stress too well, and over the last sort of 18 months I've had more than my fair share. So, yeah, I tend to handle stress by not sleeping very well, getting very irritable at times, which is odd because a lot of people don't see that in me because they see my videos and think, oh gosh, he's a jolly fellow. But yeah, when I've run out of coffee, or if I'm just... I haven't been able to sleep for 3 days, I stop being terribly jolly and I become a bit of a raging bitch. But generally, yeah, to handle stress, I think I just have to sort of have a bit of solitude and relax and go out and have a coffee by myself and just do things just to sort of like, you know what, I need to take myself out of this situation and just do something for myself for a while, and that usually works. That and dying early. God, I'm a morbidly mental person. What do you prefer, more time or more money? Well, I've got nothing but bloody time at the moment, and I've never had any money, so I'll take the more money, I reckon. That sounds like something new. I haven't had that yet. What do you like to talk about? When I'm sitting with friends and just having a glass of wine and chat, we just sit there and we just talk rubbish. It's wonderful. I love to sit there and just have a bitch and talk about silly stuff. And it doesn't have to be anything terribly earth-shattering or important. It's much like this coffee time video. Like, we don't really sort of cover any sort of earth-shatteringly important world news topics or anything. We just sit there and have a bit of fun and have a giggle, and I think that's great. So this is very much like a conversation with one of my friends where we'll just sit there having a glass of wine going, "Do you believe what she's done? I know." What was that? Do you postpone things easily? Oh, I'm a terrible procrastinator. Yeah, recently it's become worse, and I think it's just because I've been kind of tired recently because I've had a bit of an acceleration with my spinal injury recently. It's become a lot more painful than it used to be, and so my sleep pattern's been affected a bit, so I tend to sort of get up in the morning and I haven't had much sleep the previous night, and I'll sort of go, I'm supposed to be filming a video today, but there's a cloud in the sky. I probably better just go back to bed. And like in my brain, that seems like a perfectly logical thing to do. That's a perfectly valid excuse. So I'll go, okay, cool. But I have to force myself sometimes to sort of go, no, don't postpone things. Don't postpone things. Just do it. 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 So yeah. Do you like to play games? I'm not one for video games, not anymore. I used to be when I was growing up, but I love board games, although admittedly we don't play them much these days, because in this house, board games have become a bit of a blood sport, which, yeah, particularly things like Monopoly have often ended with certain members of the household grabbing knives and screaming, "Just cut my heart out." I love it when I get Mayfair. Yeah, so Monopoly and, oh, what's that god-awful game with the bloody bubble with the dice in it? Trouble. Yeah, Brian is the exalted master of Trouble, and he's almost universally considered to be a massive cheat because he was able to sit there and press the Pop-O-Matic bubble thing 36 times in a row and got 6s every single time. So we were all sitting there going like, oh, well, I guess we just won't be playing because you're just going to play every round. And yeah, so he's a big fat cheat and I hate him. And that's when I grabbed the knife and screamed, why did you just cut my heart out? Now, that did not happen, but the 36 times in a row definitely happened, and we've never heard the end of it since, because he thinks it's the greatest thing in the universe, and we all think he's a bastard. Do you take naps during the day? I never used to, but I have found myself being forced to do it recently, not every day, only now and again. Because of my back injury, it's very bad at the moment and it's very sore, so often I have to lie down just to sort of keep my mobility, although sometimes it does turn into a nap if I've had to take pain medication. It's unavoidable, but I generally don't like to do it because sleeping during the day tends to destroy any chance of me actually sleeping that night, so yeah, I end up being awake all night if I do have a nap during the day. What's the biggest difference between you and your partner? Our ability to play Trouble. I would say the biggest difference is that he is a massive car nut. He loves motorsport, Formula 1, MotoGP, anything that involves things with engines going round in circles. He loves it. Me, I don't see the attraction. I don't see why it's so good, but if he enjoys it, then so be it. So if he's sitting there watching the Formula 1, I will often totter off and do something else entirely different because I have no interest in it whatsoever. Okay, so that's all of Chris's questions. What's next? Licho3440. Face your fears, mate. It's time to face that Coca-Cola chicken again. I once saw it in a restaurant menu but was so afraid to order it I passed. When can we expect version 2.0? I'm thinking of doing it a month from never. I actually tried it at a restaurant several months ago and it was quite possibly the most disgusting thing I've ever eaten. It was actually cooked properly as opposed to the version that I did several years ago, but I just did not like the taste of it. I thought it was awful. So after tasting one that's been prepared properly, I wasn't really fussed on it. So I won't be making it again. I won't give it another go. So I'm afraid that one has definitely been put to bed. Marianne F asks, 5 things you want to do before you die, and what is your idea of a romantic evening? Oh goodness, I'm not sure 5 things I want to do before I die. I think they almost all involve travel. I would love to do more travelling. I would love to go to Machu Picchu in Peru. I think it was one of the most beautiful things in the world, and unfortunately because of my physical condition I don't see it happening anytime soon. I just don't think that someone with the kind of spinal injury I have is going to be physically capable of doing that kind of hiking and whatnot to get to that amazing place in the sky. But I think I'll just have to accept the fact that I'm only ever going to see it through pictures and videos. I don't think I'll ever see it directly for myself, but I would love to do more travelling, and I think those 5 things before I die would almost all be travel destinations. I'd love to go to Easter Island and see the statues. I would love to go to America and go to various food capitals, places like New York, go to Texas, go to the Texas State Fair and see those horrible deep-fried weird things that people in their right mind would never eat. I'd love to go and have another proper go at Los Angeles and see the food scene there because I didn't really get to do a lot of it the last time I was there. I don't know, there's so many places I'd like to go. I'd love to go and see the South Pacific properly. I'd love to go to New Zealand. I hear it's absolutely beautiful. I don't know, there's so many different places I'd like to go, so I would say that. An idea for a romantic evening. Brian and I are the worst at romance. Seriously, we've been together for 13 years. There's no romance left. There was very little to begin with. We're just sort of being able to sit down and watch a movie together or something was probably about as romantic as we get. Having a meal and watching a movie, that's probably ideal for me. We're not candy and flowers and sunrises and crap like that, because it's just, we're not girls. So, it sounds so rude, but it's true. We're not girls. We're not into, oh my God, roses, my precious. No, 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 no. I don't know if that's what straight people do, but that's definitely not what I do. R-Step00 has a few questions. Do you like Star Wars? If so, what is your favourite Star Wars movie? And are you excited for the new Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens? Since I asked the questions a few videos back, whether or not you liked Fast Forward, it got me curious. Have you been watching the new Australian comedy Open Slather? I personally only think it's funny when the old Australian comedy legends are on it. If you've seen it, what are your thoughts? I disturbed quite a few people recently by telling them that aside from watching it when I was very, very young, I had never seen Star Wars. I had no memory of ever watching Star Wars. I vaguely remember possibly seeing it when I was about 4 or 5, but I'd never really watched them as an adult. I had no real memory of them. I was aware of them. I was aware of things like Darth Vader and the robots and things like that, but I knew nothing about them. And it wasn't until recently I actually decided to sit down and watch them, because I was informed by several people online that I was weird for having not ever seen Star Wars. I sat and watched all 6 movies, and they were okay. It's not really the kind of sci-fi I'm particularly into. It was interesting, but I could honestly say that I've enjoyed other things more. So I'm not terribly fussed on the fact that there's a new Star Wars movie coming out. It's probably something that I will see, but it's not something that I will rush out to go and see at midnight on the opening day or anything like that. I'm just sort of, I will watch it eventually, but it's not something that really sort of I feel any particular need to go and see immediately. Yeah, as for Open Slather, that's an interesting one, because it's like a lot of comedy. It has divided people. Some people love it, some people hate it. Some people only like the fact that they've got some of the older Australian comedians in it, and some people prefer the fact that there are newer comedians in it. I'm kind of the opposite to you, is that with the exception of a couple of the sketches that they've done, the older Australian comedy people in it, I don't think they're doing terribly well. I think they've kind of dated a bit, and I don't think it really works in Open Slather. There's the young guy, I can't remember his surname. He's got I think it's a Greek surname, like Xanthes or something. George something Xanthes. The one who does the slap, like that guy. He is brilliant. He is so funny, and he is able to, he's a bit of a chameleon. It doesn't, even though sort of, it's obviously him, he is able to sort of embody other characters quite well. He's great at impersonations. He's able to do impressions really well. And he's really sort of got some brilliant characters on that show. And I think he is probably going to be the one who you need to keep an eye on. I think he will be the one who will become the big celebrity out of everyone on that show. I think he will probably go on to do bigger and greater things. But yeah, with the exception of a couple of the sketches, the older ones, I think they're past their prime on this, and I think they just, it kind of doesn't fit in well with the rest of the stuff on the show. But it'll be interesting to see what happens, how it goes, because there's a new season of Open Slather coming out in a couple of weeks apparently, so it should be interesting to see where they go with it. Next question is from Marta Gold, asks, I love your cooking videos, but do they really have to be so short? I'd love to see you doing more technical stuff because you're so good. I've been asked this question several times, and the short answer is people don't watch long videos when it comes to cooking videos. Mostly if it's over about 4 or 5 minutes, people don't generally watch them all the way through. They skip things, they miss instructions, and then it creates problems. But if you've got short, punchy videos, they tend to go quite well. But I tend not to do technical stuff, mainly because I've focused on doing simple recipes for people who are beginners or people who are just looking to do basic everyday things. I can do more technical, more involved, more complicated recipes, but people don't watch them. People aren't interested. They'd rather see something with 5 ingredients rather than something that has 25 ingredients and takes 4 hours to make. So, yeah, I tend not to do the more technical stuff because, yeah, generally, from what I've seen in the past, it's not really been that popular. So I'll stick to the short things. Question for the next coffee time from Bits or Bites. How do you feel now that Nico has lost all his weight and now never samples his food that he cooks? Boo. Oh, that's a bit harsh. Well, he certainly has lost a lot of weight. Nico is a very good friend of mine. He's lost weight because he's been quite unwell recently, and the reason he's not sampling the food in his videos is because he actually, because of his illness, he has a very restricted diet. There are certain things that if he eats certain types of food, it can trigger quite severe migraine issues, which is why he's been quite ill. So, yeah, he basically can only eat very certain things. Like, he can't have anything with caffeine, he can't have anything with sugar, he can't have anything that has, I think it was certain types of protein and gluten and things. He's literally, like, if you had a list of 20 things, he might be able to eat one of them. It's like, it's bizarre. And I feel so sorry for him, because for a man who has such an amazing palate and is able to cook some truly amazing things, he's now sort of very restricted in what he can and cannot eat, which is, it's good that he's able to sort of continue cooking things. It's such a shame he's able to make these wonderful chocolate dessert things and stuff and not be able to eat them. So it's terrible, but we love Nico and he's a good boy. And I remember, oh God, this was embarrassing. I don't know if I've told you guys this or not. I went to go and visit Nico over in Perth last year. And it was just as he was, he'd been started getting ill and he was losing some weight and he was having trouble with his diet, but I didn't necessarily know about the various allergies and things that he's now got, that he can't eat certain things because it triggers stuff. So I thought, oh, I know he loves sugar-free chocolate and I know he loves dark chocolate. So when I was traveling, I got this gift basket of these beautiful handmade dark chocolate things, and there were all sorts of different things. And I gave it to him when I arrived, and he's gone, oh, goody, I can't eat any of this. And I'm there, no! It's like I'm coming in with a basket of poison as a present, and I'm going, oh, great. So, as far as I know, he's been using some of the chocolate things I did in his videos for recipes and giving them to other people and stuff, so at least they're getting used, but I just felt so horrible giving him this big basket of stuff and knowing that it would probably kill him if he tried to eat it. So, big hugs to Nico. God knows he deserves them. Oh, we're up to our last set of questions. Okay, coming from rstep00. I loved your easy pea and pesto soup so much that I made a glut of it. I love the word glut. And was wondering if you have any more soup recipes coming up in the near future, despite Australia going through into spring and it's going to get really hot. Also, was just watching one of your old coffee time videos and was... you were asked about the shooting in Norway a few years back, and on the TV was live feed. Just wondering, did you watch the live feed when the shop in Sydney was held hostage by an Islamic fanatic? Did it scare you because you lived close to Sydney? Okay, there's a lot to cover on that one. I love that pea and pesto soup. That's so yummy. I have it all the time at the moment because it's great in winter. I haven't got any specific plans to do any soup recipes anytime soon, mainly because I've done a fair amount of them. I've actually got a playlist of soup recipes on the cooking channel. I haven't got any specific plans, although I think I was going to do a French onion soup at some point. I've got it on my to-do list and I haven't got around to doing it, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. As for the Sydney siege, yes, I did watch that live on television, and it was very, very disturbing because nobody knew exactly what was going on. Nobody knew if the people in the cafe were alive, if they'd been already killed. It was a horrifying incident, and because nothing quite like that has ever happened in this country before, it really did sort of strike at the core to a lot of people. Yeah, it was something that sort of the whole country was just sort of stunned by, because these kind of things don't generally happen in Australia. So, yeah. Oh, that was a horrible way to end the video. I always wish there was another question so we could end on a happier note. Anyway, well, we'll wrap this up now and hope for happy thoughts. If you've got a question for the next video, please leave it in the comment section underneath this video on YouTube. Until then, keep out of trouble, stay safe, be kind to your mother, and I shall talk to you later. Bye-bye.